What's up, everyone? Come and join your boy, AB, in the Underground Rundown presented by the Urban Wrestling Network. Hey, everyone, what's up? You are joining me, AB, in the Underground Rundown. The Bronco Busters couldn't be with me today, but they'll be on later or another show. If you have been following our channel, you know that Chef is he's starting to do a little bit of his own thing when he can, so that we can put out a little bit more material. He is doing raw and uncut. It's a real good introspection on his thoughts on some of the things that are happening in MLW and across the wrestling networks. So go ahead and join and make sure that you subscribe, that you like, that you listen, that you comment below, and that you comment on all of our stuff. Make sure to follow us. If you follow us on Twitter, that is where we are the most engaged. We are at Urban Wrestle NW. It's up on the top of my screen. And you can also follow me. I'm at A Beans UWN. That stands for Urban Wrestling Network. And you can follow us on Instagram and of course, here on YouTube, which is where we release our show. We may be releasing some audio soon, but we're not sure. We haven't gotten really good feedback on how people want to listen to that. Anyways, a couple of things I want to touch on before the show. Usually, what we try to do is I try to stick to just the show topics for the Underground Rundown. It is really just running down the Underground, right? All right. But I wanted to talk about something that's happening that the boys are asking me, please, give us your take. We've already given ours, right? Let me talk a little bit about this show, and then I'm going to bring that back in. First things first, I was super excited watching this show. This show was awesome, but I digress. And I have to say, there was a little bit of hesitancy on me getting so much into this show because the lineup was great. The commentary was great. We had a great pull apart for that's leading up to next week's Fatu and Hammerstone matchup. We had a little bit of a backstage thing with Caesar Duran, Adonis, Johnny Nobody, and Valkyrie, Billington Bulldogs, and Boomaye Fight Club. That was great. All in all, this show was awesome. The problem is that in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, man, this Reels deal, right? So a couple of weeks ago, maybe last week sometime, we find out that Reels is being purchased. At least the content is by the Peacock. And of course, if you've been living under a rock, you should already know, or unless you've been living under a rock, you should already know that Peacock and WWE are, they're joined at the hip, right? So when we heard that, I said, hey, fine, not a big deal. It's not a big deal. This is only for Reels streaming app and streaming service. So they're going to take that on. And MLW hadn't been on the streaming service anyways. We still have PWTV, right? Pro Wrestling TV, which if you watched last week, I also mentioned they haven't released anything. MLW hasn't released anything on Pro Wrestling TV. All right. A little bit of frustration there, but let's get back to the Reels deal. So I said, I messaged the guys. I said, no. I think this is good. This is still going to be good because on their channel, on the Reels channel, they can still have MLW. And the reason why that is because Peacock only bought the streaming. Well, come to find out that is not exactly true. They also bought the linear channel. So this 10-week deal that MLW had as a trial, which, a couple of people online are saying, well, why would they do that? Because it's a trial. And two things happen. One if MLW doesn't live up to its name and its, the real standards, which, well, unfortunately they're low. You've got fake cop shows on there, and a bunch of documentaries.
If MLW doesn't live up to that standard, they can cut them after 10 weeks. Say, nice handshake and say, hey, thanks for doing business with us. We appreciate it, but it's not really going to work. On the other side, too, Reels is could say, hey, look, this really worked, and it looks like it is because you've got about, give or take, about 100,000 fans that are tuning in at 9 o'clock Central to watch MLW. So there is appetite for an alternative to the alternative, right?
And we all know what the alternative was, and hopefully MLW will be the alternative to the alternative. Even some of the other stuff that's out there is it's just bad. MLW's product, we think, it's presented well, and this show is indicative of how great MLW could be on TV given an opportunity for a long-term contract. Back in my mind again, this is why I really didn't get super excited about the show. Does anybody care? I don't know, but that's my take on it. It's both sides could have benefited from this. I don't know where it goes from here. It looks like they're announcing April 6th, which I believe is a Thursday, and it is an MLW taping, but I don't understand why this MLW taping on Thursday for War Chamber, which is in New York, is on a Thursday. Usually MLW will tape on a Friday night or Saturday, mostly Saturdays. I know that they did Saturdays here in Texas. So a little bit confusing. Maybe this switches to a live show on Pro Wrestling TV, although I also don't see that happening because it wastes so much material knowing that they only film once a month, right? I've been critical on other shows that we've recorded and in the past of Tony Khan coming out and making a mockery of of his media scrums, right? And he puts his friends out there that he's given a plane ride to, a first class ticket, I'm sure, a ticket to the event, food and drinks, hotel, and puts these media people, these journalists, out in the front row and everywhere else, and they get the best seats, and then they get the best seats in the media scrum. That is really not a media scrum because these are curated questions, but at least there's a show that they are putting on. They're putting on a show saying that there is an actual journalist asking these questions, but the first thing they do when they stand up is, "Hey, Tony Khan, this was a great show. I really loved it and I enjoyed it. And this is my favorite wrestler, and I'm going to ask him the most softball question in the world." So, anyways, past that, my goofy voice there. The problem with Court and MLW is he doesn't even do a media scrum. He's releasing these things daily on Twitter and announcing shows and announcing what's happening and announcing what's up for their next event. But he never takes into consideration and takes us into account to try to give a clarification on what's happening with the other things. Like, is the BN network still in play? Pro Wrestling TV for the past 4, maybe going on 5 weeks, this coming Thursday, hasn't had a new show. There's supposed to be this Lucha Azteca underground, whatever Cesar Duran's doing. We really haven't heard about it. There's not even a Twitter account for it. So what's up, Court? Help us out. Help us understand. And I know he goes on select shows. We are not one of them that gets Court. I don't even know that we've asked him to come on. I don't know that we care, but really, give us some information. Give the fans some information, right? Let's move past that. That's my take on that S. Let's move on to the show, and let me try to get re-excited for this show, right? Because I'm a little bit down and depressed even talking about this. All right, so the show starts out with Fatu and the ever retired, retired Leo Rush. Hammerstone comes out and he joins the commentary team. I have to say this about the commentary team: it works with, I think it's Dabrowski, Matt Stryker, them two work well together. Strikers is trying to become a little bit more of a heel in his commentary, which I like. There always needs to be Gorilla Monsoon, Bobby Heenan. There always needs to be regular presenter. The color commentary guy should be a little bit more heelish. My opinion. I'm gonna guess if you ask the guys, they'll probably say the same thing. You ask your friends, who knows, right? They'll probably say, no, I want Excalibur. Let's just put everybody over. But now call somebody out every once in a while. It's a good thing. So the commentary here worked. Adding Hammerstone in here worked also. There were some times though in this match that I was really hoping that they would just shut the f up, because there were there was times that there was action and they were taken away from the action because you were having to listen to the commentary. And unfortunately, I have to focus on that commentary because I try to figure out, hey, what are they really talking about? What's happening next? What type of storyline are they trying to create? The action was good between Lio Rush and Fatu. I feel like Fatu gave Leo a little bit much. And when I say that, I mean, Leo is not a big guy, and I just don't know that Fatu should have been giving up this much in this match and looking like Leo Rush gave him some competition. But either way, Leo's quickness and agility sort of helped this match move along. It made Fatu look a little bit slower, but in the end, Fatu ends up winning. There were some really great spots here. There was a couple of spots, I think, an out of the ring spot. There was Fatu did a splash, a flat-footed splash on Leo, that really looked awesome. Of course, Fatu's finishing move, where he does a double jump off the top middle rope, then the top rope. I really loved it. It was probably one of the better matches I've seen in MLW in a long time. It has a feel of one of those old school matches. And then after Fatu wins, he gets a mic. He calls out Hammerstone. Hammerstone, of course, is in commentary. He goes over. They get in the ring. They do the face-off. And it's the lead up to next week's show, right? It's hey, let's pull these guys apart. They can't wait to get their hands on each other. I really enjoyed that pull apart because it made sense, and the commentary helped. The commotion in commentary, the commotion in the ring with multiple staff members and referees, and the bell going off and people standing up. And I think this is the second or third week that they've done this in a row, that there's a little bit of commotion, but they do it well. MLW really does it well. And when they lead out of this, and I know my boy Muffins is probably saying, AB, just get on with it. But I am a little bit more critical and analytical when it comes to these things, right? I don't just watch it for face value. I'm a little bit more analytical. Anyways, when the pull apart is happening and they're moving them down the ramp, the announcers come back on, the commentary team comes back on, and they say, we really have to show you this package that's coming up. We don't want to take you away from the pull apart, but we'll let you know what happens when we come back. So, oh, wow, I'm a fan and I want to watch this package because it's important, but I also want to know what's going to end up happening in this pull apart. It's not just a drop and go to the next section and like the pull apart never happened. All right. So then the package comes up, and it's Sam Adonis, which oddly introduces Cesar Duran, which then introduces Taya, which introduces John Hennigan. Oh, Johnny Nobody. And it's got an old school feel to it from Adonis and from Taya and from Johnny Nobody. It's really an old school heel promo about all their gold and the flexing about the who the doctor is, because these pythons are sick. Oh my gosh, gotta work on my arms there. I liked it. I really loved it. And yes, it kept me hanging on. Duran, I don't know about Caesar, but people like him. So it was a cool little package, and it kept you hanging on because it was just long enough for you to say, "I want to see what happens again back in the arena, and I want to know what's happening with Fatu and Hammerstone." So when they come back, they actually do a recap of what just happened. Hey, in the ring just a few moments ago, there was a pull apart because there's a match next week. Check that out. Let's reintroduce what's actually happening and remind everybody that there's a match going on next week between Hammerstone and Fatu, not just something random. There's logic to this. There's logic to this. So then they come back. The announcers say, "Hey, this is what happened just a few moments ago. It was hard to get them apart. The commotion comes back. The excitement is in the ring again. So you didn't just get taken to the back and some heel promo happens and then you move on to the next segment, right?" We will move on from that. I really loved it, really enjoyed it. That section of the show, I think we had already started texting each other, talking about how great the show was, between us and me, and of course the small packages, aka the Bronco Busters. Um, we move on, and it's the Billington Bulldogs, Tom and Mark Billington, against the Bumaye Fight Club, which in this match it's actually Myron Reed, which has moved on, and Mr. Thomas, right? The entrance was cool. I like the entrance. Alex Kane, actually from the Bumaye Fight Club, joins the commentary team. I'm not sure how much I like a wrestler leaving the commentary team and then another wrestler coming and joining the commentary team. I mean, it doesn't have to happen every match, but I'm gonna guess it's just the way that this, the whole layout of filming once a month, that is sort of what happened there, and it just happened to be like that. Not a big deal. Uh, Alex Kane in the commentary team, I would prefer them work on his skills in the back on vocals and promos versus him being out there in the commentary team, because he didn't feel comfortable. He's worse than Tankman. I didn't really like it. Although the commentary team did call out the Billington Bulldogs and say they need some size, and they do. One of the guys walks around. He might be like 195. He walks around with the strut, and he's got, like, he's trying to show off his lats, and I see the walk, and he looks similar to someone in his family. I won't mention the name, but he looks very, very similar to someone in his family, in his bloodline. I hope that they put on a little bit of size. They're going to need it, but I think that they are 18 or 19, so it'll catch up to them. Maybe in the next 2 or 3 years they'll put on a good 15, 20 pounds of muscle, right? Good match. I have to say that Mr. Thomas, being a beast in there and outsizing everyone, really did a good job of putting the Bulldogs over. They all worked well together. It was a great match. I'd like to see them extend this feud a little bit longer. Um, Mr. Thomas works well. Myron Reed worked well in this match, although I didn't see too much of him. I saw more of Mr. Thomas. And then the thing that was a little bit funny to me is they pinned Mr. Thomas versus pinning Myron Reed, when I think that by this time in the timeline, they may have already figured out that Myron Reed was going to go free agent, and pinning Mr. Thomas, which is their beast, maybe shouldn't have happened. They could have pinned Myron, which he was on his way out. Who knows? Anyways, either way, great match. Again, Alex Kane on commentary, big no for me. Let's move on from there, right? All right, so you get a video message with Real One. He's in a wheelchair and he's talking about he talked about pinstripes and Philadelphia, and I was just like, and he was talking about the Bombers. His I know heels sometimes don't make sense. Just this dude in particular, for me, he doesn't do it. Doesn't make sense. His ring work is decent. But hey, he's another wrestler and people know him, and I'll take that, right? I'm gonna move on past the Induka and the hustle and power versus Samoan SWAT team thing, and the the I don't know, the promo in the back with Tankman and Induka. I'll just move past that and past the Hammerstone thing. I want to try to keep this a little quick, and I think I've gone way over. Anyways, in the back, in some stairwell, you got Warner sitting alongside Microman, and he's talking about no one, no one attacks Microman, but it is building this. So it's building this stairwell thing is building on what's going to come next. It seems like Mance Warner's boys from Second Gear Fight Club or Second Gear Crew, whatever that is, with one called Manders, and there's another guy in there. It seems to be building on what is going to happen next, which is a video package that reveals that Raven is actually the mystery guy behind the AO, which they turn the card upside down and it's OV. And I'm trying to figure out what the OV stands for. Maybe, I don't know. They'll explain it to us at some point. The boys are really frustrated that this is Raven behind this whole thing, because it just, it's another ECW retread, but MLW sort of came about during that ECW time, and then they went away for a long time, right? And there were a lot of guys that were in ECW that went to MLW because, it was the next big thing. I don't mind it being Raven because he's, always the leader of the flock. I just felt like the Raven that we all know is the Raven from WCW that just sat there with the flock and did nothing in the front row, versus seeing Raven and some of the other things that he did in ECW and OVW. I think he was there, and a couple of other places that I've seen some of his work. And I'm just thinking to myself, like, okay, if I can put aside the WCW junk that they had from, the 2000s or the 90s even, I can believe Raven being the leader of, Akira and Ricky Shane Page. Trust in Raven, right? Okay, we'll see what happens, but it looks like it's going to be a program between Mance Warner's guys and Raven's guys. We'll see what happens. I really don't want to see Raven in the ring, but I know it's probably inevitable. And the last match is for the heavyweight championship, and it's Alex Hammerstone and Lance Anuahi. I hope I'm saying that right. Fatu and Juicy for now were around the ring. I think Fatu was in commentary for a little bit. Tankman and Nduka are in the crowd. There was a disqualification because Fatu and Hammerstone brawled, which was a continuation, I guess, of the pull apart, and of course the inevitability, right? But when you when you think about it, having Lance meet Hammerstone the week before, could this lead to a little bit of dissension between the SST? And the reason I'm saying that is because Lance had his chance. Lance had his chance for a title, and really because of Fatu, it was disrupted. So we'll see where that goes. All in all, once again, I really think that this was a great. Oh, I didn't even mention Davey Boy Smith coming out to sort of help the Billington Bulldogs. But Davey Boy Smith was out there. By the way, I hate their graphics. Their graphics look so cheesy and cheap. It looks like I did it on Word or PowerPoint and just sped it up onto video. Like I mentioned, this was a good show. If I can put some of the things aside and hope that the Reels deal sort of continues, or they fix whatever that scenario is, situation. I really loved this show, and I think that when the numbers come out, because I haven't seen the numbers get tweeted out yet. Usually, I think it's WrestleNomics that tweets those out that says how many viewers they had. But when those come out, I think that we're going to see that this show had closer to 100,000 throughout the segments. I really love that. I hope that Real sees that, or I hope that another network sees this and uses those numbers and that amount of viewers to really strengthen MLW a little bit more. This feels great. It feels like there's a lot of momentum, and I hope that they don't lose it. But being MLW, it happens. They lose the momentum, and it's unfortunate. Make sure that you you listen, you subscribe, you follow us on Twitter. Everything, all of our social medias are up here, or it depends on which side I'm on for the day. But down at the bottom, you can scan the QR code with your camera, and it will take you to our link tree, and it's got all of the links. It's got all the social medias. It's got all the newest videos that we've popped out. And make sure that you engage with us on Twitter, right?